What makes someone a hero? There is never just one answer to that question. Some will tell you that it's selflessness, putting other people before oneself, that makes someone heroic. Others believe that heroism takes someone with a clear sense of morality, the ability to tell right from wrong with absolute certainty. Perhaps a hero should also be a symbol, a paragon of hope and virtue for all of society to look up to and aspire to be. And then there are those who would argue that a person can't possibly be a hero unless they possess one key trait, whether that comes as a result of a freak accident, gamma radiation exposure, or mutated genes. Being blessed with extraordinary powers and the will to use them for good might just be what elevates a moral, selfless, and symbolic hero into something more: a superhero. It is rare that the SCP Foundation encounters an anomalous creature or entity that it considers to be harmless. There are, of course, exceptions, but perhaps even more of a rarity is an SCP that seeks to go out of its way and use its anomalous abilities to do good. So many of the creatures and entities kept contained by the Foundation have malicious intent, like damage-regenerating reptiles with contempt for humanity, and eldritch beings with desires to take over this dimension. But then there is SCP-2800, or as he prefers to call himself, Cactus Man, the Spiked Menace. Partially human and part succulent plant, SCP-2800 is one of a rare breed of SCPs, one that aims to help people, rather than killing them, enslaving them, or wiping reality as we know it from existence. And as you might be surprised to learn, that this superhero known as Cactus Man began life as one Daniel McIntyre, an average guy from Scotland. Little is known about Daniel's origin story. All superheroes have one, of course, but as far as Foundation researchers are aware, Cactus Man wasn't jettisoned in a pod from his dying homeworld to the safety of Earth. It is also safe to assume he didn't get pricked by a radioactive cactus or have his DNA infused with a plant during a genetic experiment. He was first encountered by the SCP Foundation whilst they were trying to contain another SCP, a reality-warping object that had somehow breached containment. What Foundation staff tracking the object witnessed was Cactus Man attempting to assault the escaped SCP, to little success. Following this encounter, Foundation personnel convinced Cactus Man to allow them to contain him. He complied, was designated as SCP-2800, and researchers began investigating the nature of this strange would-be superhero. According to Daniel, one day his powers just happened, with little understanding as to how, why, or what had caused this transformation. When asked about how he acquired his powers during an interview with SCP Foundation researcher Dr. Love, Daniel said, "To be honest, Doc, I don't know. I woke up one day and boom, cactus powers. Thought I might as well use them for good, right? I always grew up reading a lot of comic books. Always loved the X-Men as a little kid, so I thought I was one of them. I thought I was the luckiest guy in the world, ending up with superpowers. Doesn't every kid wish they could be a superhero?" Analysis by Foundation research staff revealed that Daniel's DNA had somehow merged with the genome of a Carnegie gigantea plant, or a saguaro cactus. This plant is usually what most people picture if they were to imagine a typical cactus, and is known to be native to the Sonoran Desert, as well as the Mexican state of Sonora. How one became part of Daniel McIntyre's genetic makeup is baffling. It seems highly unlikely that a saguaro cactus would grow naturally in Scotland, given that the country has a far damper and colder climate than the scorching hot deserts that saguaros normally thrive in. Regardless of exactly how Daniel became fused with a cactus, his body shares a number of the same physical properties of the plant. Pointed spikes protrude from his skin, which can grow to just over an inch in length. It seems that SCP-2800 can either remove these spikes manually with little pain, or will eventually shed them naturally over time, allowing more to regrow in their place. As well as outwardly looking like an anthropomorphic cactus, SCP-2800 also shares various biological traits with his cacti counterparts. Daniel's body no longer functions in the same way as that of an ordinary human being in a number of different ways. Firstly, he is able to perform photosynthesis, deriving the necessary nutrients he requires from direct sunlight. This negates the need for him to consume any food, and prevents him from feeling hunger or the fatigue this can often bring. Additionally, his altered biology allows cactus men to store more water than would normally be possible for the average human, and he requires less of it too. SCP-2800 is able to keep himself hydrated with a third of the required fluids for an average person. Daniel can also adapt to more arid environments, with drier climates and above-average levels of heat having little impact on his abilities. Speaking of abilities, SCP-2800 is not just a man with the physical and biological traits of a saguaro cactus. He also has superpowers that seem, well, let's say, inspired by a cactus. While perhaps not as flashy as being faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, or able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, Cactus Man does possess his own unique set of superhuman abilities. Derived, like his other traits, from his part saguaro DNA, SCP-2800 has the power to empathetically communicate with other plant life. Unlike telepathy and the ability to communicate solely through thoughts, empaths like Cactus Man are able to influence or interpret the emotions or moods of others. So similar, but a little more subtle in its effectiveness. Cactus Man might have superhuman powers, altered DNA, and a mysterious origin, but another part of a hero's journey is the struggle, and SCP-2800 is no exception to this either. Despite his desire to do good, he harbors a lot of unrest under that prickly exterior. After extensive psychological examination by the researchers at the SCP Foundation, Daniel was diagnosed with 2 distinct mental disorders. The first of these is dysmethia, or chronic depression, with the other being a condition colloquially known as hero syndrome. Hero syndrome, as its name suggests, is often characterized by an unstoppable pathological urge to help people, usually ignoring any risks to oneself in the pursuit of assisting even total strangers. Some with this disorder will even attempt to manufacture dangerous scenarios in order to act like the hero, and earn themselves recognition and praise for reacting heroically to the danger they secretly caused. Like, for example, committing arson so they can save people from a burning building. SCP-2800 has never attempted anything like this so far, but Cactus Man does express an extreme willingness to help people and try to intervene in any situation that he thinks he can assist with. The problem is, SCP-2800 is hardly an experienced crime fighter, and this has put him on the receiving end of his fair share of injuries. During his first outing as Cactus Man, the Spiked Menace, Daniel encountered a group engaging in the sale of illicit substances and attempted to apprehend them. While he was able to deal a cactus spine-filled blow to one of their faces, the group quickly overpowered Cactus Man and beat him until local law enforcement arrived to save him. Determined to prove himself a hero, though, Daniel returned to patrolling the streets soon after, but met with the same results. Even weak, petty criminals seemed like they were too much for Cactus Man to handle. While his hero syndrome compels SCP-2800 to want to do good and set a good example, it is also directly linked to his other condition, his dysmethia. By attempting and failing to be heroic, Cactus Man becomes chronically depressed, yet still has the urges brought on by his hero syndrome to put himself in harm's way for the sake of others. And when he is unable to provide help, Daniel falls back into depression. It's a very difficult cycle. In the hopes of counteracting some of Daniel's struggles, the SCP Foundation have gifted him a pair of potted cacti. These occupy SCP-2800's cell with him, both oxygenating his room as well as boosting his morale. Although he has remarked that the cacti don't say much to him beyond "I'm thirsty" and "I am a cactus." Daniel has affectionately named his potted plants. They're now known as Cactilad and Spiky Girl, his sidekicks in the never-ending battle against evil. During interviews with Foundation researcher Dr. Love, Daniel admitted that he was a victim of bullying throughout much of his childhood. From a young age, he often found himself in physical altercations with bullies that singled him out and picked on him at school. Cactus Man said that his experiences encouraged him to give back, and that despite having suffered at the hands of bullies, it made SCP-2800 determined to help others in need. In his own words, Daniel didn't want what happened to him to happen to anybody else, and it is highly likely that these experiences from his youth are at least part of the cause of his hero syndrome. However, another incident may also be linked to SCP-2800's condition. Despite not often prevailing against petty criminals, there is CCTV surveillance footage of Cactus Man from before his containment by the SCP Foundation. The footage in question was taken at a subway close to where Daniel patrolled and looked for criminals to apprehend. In the surveillance tape, a woman and her child can be seen waiting at the subway station near a support pillar. From behind the pillar, an assailant in a mask appeared, wielding what looked to be a knife. The woman, cowering and trying to protect her child, was made to open her purse as the attacker threatened her with his knife. But then Cactus Man appeared behind the man. He walked up to him and punched him in his lower back and chest. A number of SCP-2800 sharp cacti spines ended up lodged in the man's skin, causing him to drop the knife in pain. During the ensuing scuffle, SCP-2800 was able to tie the man up, thus saving the woman and her child. The woman then thanked Cactus Man, shaking his hand and embracing him. Her child also expressed gratitude, with SCP-2800 kneeling down to face them and appearing to get emotional at receiving recognition. After signing an autograph for the child, Cactus Man then disappeared from the scene before police arrived. Cacti have the tenacity to grow in barren desert environments, surviving on very little water. It is for that reason that to some, these plants have come to symbolize strength, resilience, and endurance. This one encounter captured in this surveillance footage may well have been one of the few times Cactus Man ever succeeded at being heroic, but perhaps it is all he needed to encourage him to keep trying, to seek out wrongdoings time and time again, even if it led to him being injured. Maybe knowing that just once he had succeeded in saving a woman and her child was enough to convince him that he would one day be able to do so again. And maybe that is what makes someone a true hero: the power to endure. Now check out